because of this story, because of you sending me that story going, hey, I want to talk about this. I'm like, oh my goodness, why? Wait a second.
Why?
Why?
Ooh, that's a different effect.
I got them all, baby.
The depressed robot one.
Try the chicken. I'm here all week.
Try the veal, yeah. Hey, everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here. Welcome to my second ever episode of Movie News You Can Use. It is all of the movie news you can use. It kind of sort of rhymes, even though it really doesn't. We're still workshopping the name a little bit. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below this video. Do you guys like the name Movie News You Can Use? And does it accurately reflect this podcast? I think it sort of does, but I'll leave it up to you guys. Let me know in the comments section down below. Joining me for this, the second ever episode of Movie News You Can Use, is a talented YouTuber who has been having me on way more times than I've had him on. He is the host of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. They take a deep dive look into movies every Sunday. He's also a friendly neighborhood FIVERR creator who can service all of your needs on FIVERR, not Fiverr. I'm sure he gets plenty of Fiverr, plenty of cereal out there, but FIVERR with 2 R's. Please welcome to the Dragon Movie Guy podcast, Rob Kristjansson. Rob, welcome back. Welcome back to the Dragon Movie Guy podcast, where you get plenty of FIVERR and FIVERR. I just have to pronounce the 2 words correctly.
I do get plenty of FIVERR.
Yeah.
FIVERR. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel, Jim and Rob and Overanalyze Movies.
The channel itself, I call It's Never Just a Movie, because, and you and I, as we've had many deep conversations about film, that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I kind of look at the world. It's kind of all hangs on our weekly podcast, Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. An old high school friend of mine, Jim Chaboyko, and I, where we'll pick a movie, we'll watch it, and then we overanalyze it, to quote my wonderful friend Jim, to within an inch of its life. And then, of course, we also have got See It or Skip It reviews. Those are kind of our spoiler-free content. We'll go see a movie, then we'll kind of give our quick reaction afterwards. And, well, as it says in the name, see it or skip it. And then every now and then I have wonderful guests, such as yourself, on, whether it be to overanalyze an individual movie, or, as a matter of fact, it's just about to come out, the edited version, where you and I kind of took a look at movies made for streaming or television versus movies made for the theater, and we had kind of a deep dive and a great conversation about that. I think that's my YouTube channel in a nutshell. Subscribe anyway. It costs you nothing.
Absolutely.
And Rob loves that subscriber number going up.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to move from several dozen subscribers to several hundred.
Do you have a live stream coming up this Sunday?
As a matter of fact, I do. Jim and I are going to be looking at the German Netflix film Blood and Gold, set in the waning days of World War II. A deserter and some German soldiers are going after, well, gold. Because you never know how the algorithm feels when you say that word.
If once a week, if I can start something that's more topical, that's that we're all talking about off the camera. These are the things that we post about on Facebook pages, on our Twitter feeds, on our Instagram, all of those social media outlets. These are the kinds of things.
The Grammy social stuff.
The Instagram, Grammy, Emmy, Oscar-y, all of that kind of stuff. I figured, why not give us something we can use? Give us some movie news you can use, if you will. So, the way this is going to work, folks, is we are going to have 5 headlines from this week, custom selected by me, your host, talking about things that are going on in the world of movies for the week of Friday, June 2nd, 2023. Story number 1. is Memorial Day box office weekend, remembering all of our fallen troops, but it is also a big weekend at the box office, and the number one movie in the box office for Memorial Day 2023 is The Little Mermaid. Took in $117.5 million. Several new movies, including The Machine, which was Burt Kreischer's biopic, that came in at 5th place. Number 2 was Fast X, the 11th Fast and Furious movie, at $28.1 million. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came in at $26.1 million, and still hanging in there at over $1 billion. The Super Mario Brothers movie took in $8.3 million, good for 4th place at the box office.
Is managing.
Yes.
It's struggling.
The little movie that could.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If I had kids, sure. Maybe when it ends up on Disney Plus, that's a big maybe. Not really the kind of thing I'm into. Am I surprised it took number one on the really, in a way, I know we're not quite in summer, but we're close enough that it took the number one spot on the first holiday weekend of the, let's say, the summer movie season. No, that doesn't shock me at all. Disney family-friendly fare does well at box office is so not a news story. I'm shocked it led. But, well, there we are. What was it? I think you got it on Variety there. That was the link you said. Look at that. It's like, talk about another little movie that could, eh? Like, anyway. So yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me.
Even these sort of cash grabby remakes, it is hard to redo something and get people to pay for it. It is threading of the needle in the hardest way possible, which is you don't want to piss off the people that love the original, but you also don't want to just copy and paste. Well, so I actually did see The Little Mermaid. I had a chance to see a screening of it a couple weeks ago. It's good. It's too long to be a kid's movie because it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is 52 minutes longer than the original film. But I have not seen the original film, but apparently it's still the same story with 3 extra songs, but it is 52 minutes longer. Everyone, including me, was kind of nodding off a little bit in the film. So, good film, but just it's too long for what it is. There was even a couple kids in the screening that I saw, and they were sort of getting a little fidgety and restless just in the same places that I was in the middle of the film. So, yeah.
So it sounds like it's not really meant for children of any age, that length.
Well, it's the tonality of it, it's definitely for kids. But yeah, the length of it is just, it's yeah.
Long.
Yeah, it's just way too friggin' long for to be a kids movie. I mean, kids movies, you know, they're tiny people. They got to go to the bathroom. 2 hours and 15 minutes is too long for most people, even adults, to go without going to the restroom. So
they got to do.
Yeah, they got all kinds of stuff to do, and yeah. So The Little Mermaid, it's a good movie, but it's too long for the story they're trying to tell, and especially considering the audience, it is a bit too long. But it is a good film, and Halle Bailey does a great job as Ariel in the film too.
Can I ask you a question on this? Just on this one before you move forward on your agenda there. Do you think one of the reasons it's successful, Disney gets 2 kicks at the can here? They get to go, it's great for the kids, but the parents who've already seen the first one, the original, get to kind of see it a different way. But they know the story, they know everything. It's like comfort food. It's like, don't worry, I know this restaurant. Kids will be fine at it. Come on, kids, let's get in the car. And so you get the nostalgia of the parents, because how long ago was the first one? Did the 1988? Yeah, you might even be getting grandparents who saw it back in 1988 saying, come on, kids, get in the car. And we'll both have a same but different experience.
Yeah, well, and Disney is the master at the master corporation at pulling off the recycling material, because so much of their content
exploiting nostalgia.
Yeah, well, it's because it's all children's entertainment. Kids only remain kids for a certain amount of time, and very famously, even before the digital era, Disney would recycle their hand-drawn animated movies in theaters once every 7 years, because they figure, well, if you're 4 or 5 when one of them comes out, then by the time you're 11, it's a whole new generation of kids comes along. So
Yep.
the fact that they're recycling again for a new era, for a digital era, for a era where 90s nostalgia is just sort of hitting its nadir, it doesn't surprise me. It's just one of those where you hope that it's good, and there's been mixed reviews, I think, from a lot of people on the live action remakes of those 90s animated films. I haven't seen all of them, but I did like Beauty and the Beast. That was really well done. Aladdin seems to have gotten some mixed results. Little Mermaid was pretty well done. Halle Bailey did a great job, and then Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. She did a phenomenal job in that role, and who knew Melissa McCarthy could sing? Other than that commercial that's out right now about traveling places. Who knew that Melissa McCarthy could actually sing? I sure did.
Triple threat!
Yes, she is that triple threat. So I was pleasantly surprised by the film. It wouldn't surprise me if kids or parents, people that are parents now or grandparents that remember watching it in theaters back in the 80s, took their grandkids and said, "Hey, remember this? Back in my day, before we all had fake teeth, we all liked Disney too." Are you surprised by this result at the box office for Memorial Day weekend? Fast X, Guardians still hanging strong and still pulling in over $20 million each.
The only one I'm a little surprised at is The Machine, except that I really didn't think it would get as limited a release as it did. Here in Winnipeg, albeit, yes, a tier 3 Canadian city, still, like we have multiplexes, lots of them. I could only find it in one screen.
Really?
In Winnipeg, in the entire city. So I gotta admit, when I look at the math you've got up on the screen there, I would love to compare the Super Mario Brothers 8.3 million, how many screens that was in. There's a part of me kind of going, I wonder if they did well per theater, but that in the end, maybe the producers, the distributors, like, this is a niche release.
We did get a relatively wide release here in Vegas. It was on every theater that I could tell. I don't think it was on multiple screens like The Little Mermaid was. Like the Little Mermaid took up all of the IMAX and 40X, XD screens here in Vegas last weekend. But as far as being in every theater, to my recollection, both The Machine and About My Father got wide releases, at least here in Vegas. As much talk as what was going on my channel and on a lot of YouTube channels, the fact that The Machine pulled in $6 million is a bit of a disappointment, I think, because I honestly, with my channel, I was getting tons and tons of shorts views, more than any other video for this week. So I released 3 or 4 shorts videos, not all that many, and that was the number one for shorts videos on my channel for this week. So the fact that it only made $6 million is a little surprising at the reflection of, especially considering that the Super Mario Brothers movie has been out a month already, and the fact that counter family programming was out in The Little Mermaid, the fact that The Machine made less than the second most family movie for Memorial Day weekend, the fact that The Machine only made $6 million, I didn't even bother looking up About My Father. So if The Machine made $6 million and that was the one that everyone was sort of talking about online, I don't even know what About My Father made, because it's definitely less than that.
Just looking it up on Wikipedia, may have been a limited Winnipeg release, but maybe they should have done that everywhere. The Machine, according to Wikipedia, was released on 2,409.
Wow.
409 screens over the 4-day Memorial weekend. Holy crap. Yeah, that's, it sucked wind.
Yeah, 2,400 screens. And the over-under on whether it's a wide release or a not wide release is usually about 1,000 screens. So 2,400 screens.
It's a solid, legit wide release.
Yeah, that is surprisingly underachieving, in my opinion.
According to this, Brian, I don't know if you can see this on my screen here, but
it's a little pixely, but kind of see it.
Rotten Tomatoes was 22%, so maybe it's just like I haven't had the chance to see it yet. I still want to see it, but I gotta admit now it's like, I'll just wait until it gets on streaming.
The Machine is not one of those that Rotten Tomatoes is going to really like. The Machine is one of those where the
Rotten Tomatoes has an opinion.
But like critics and stuff, critics like you and me, like a lot of the critic type people out there, a fat guy who's shirtless, who gets drunk in college, it's not exactly highbrow, highfalutin Oscar material there. That's
Yeah, I gotta push back there. They gave great reviews to plenty of Marvel movies. They get great numbers. Critics like good movies. It's not about, what was this highfalutin? It's about, is this any good? Did I walk out of the theater entertained? Did it get me in here? Like Guardians of the Galaxy got me in here. Am I thinking, where's its Oscars campaign? Where's its for your consideration campaign? No, I am not.
This is definitely not a feels movie, though. Ironically, though, I did like it, but the problem with The Machine, if anything, was the fact that they were going too much for the feels, and it took too long to get into the whole machine routine thing.
Well, and you gotta set up the feels, right? Like, I mean, feels don't need to be every single scene. It needs to be build up, and now here's the emotional moment.
No, but that was,
emotional moment. Oh, and then some action.
Yeah, that was kind of the issue, though, was the fact that it was
moment.
It was a lot of build up. If the movie is called The Machine, and you wait until the last half hour of a 2-hour movie to get to the machine, that's too much build up. In my opinion, it was funny, but it was a little bit too long for a comedy, and it's one of those to wait for streaming, because they spent a lot of money. There's some visual stuff in there where it makes sense as to, we want to have a studio level comedy. They definitely spent that money, but a little bit too much money spent on the screen and not enough focus on the comedy, which is odd to say for a film that focuses so much on the feels. The feels. He's a dad now.
Well, again, unearned moments.
Yeah,
not properly set up, right?
This is true.
Well. You know what? I'll still check it out because I still want to see Mark Hamill on the big screen.
Yeah.
For what may be the last time now, if it wasn't that big a win.
Yeah.
The studio's going, well, you didn't bring him in, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to admit, I was a little bit disappointed that they released both stand-up comedians going on a road trip with their father movies the same friggin' weekend. They couldn't have spaced him out by a couple weeks and both gotten the summer movie season big dollar bills thing. They had to both be Memorial Day, and neither one of them, as far as I could tell, involves service to the country or serving in the military. So there's no thematic element there of having to come out Memorial Day weekend. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed.
What, as opposed to Little Mermaid?
That's a cash grab. It's Disney.
Let us recognize our fallen with the Little Mermaid.
Yeah. This is true too.
Wait a second. You know what? I deserve a rim shot for that one.
You do. Across the Spider-Verse, hitting
what
theaters.
What is this Spider-Man you speak of?
Yes, the Spider-Man Chronicles.
Who is this Spider-Man character? I've never heard of this.
This is the second in the Sony animated Spider-Verse film. The first one won an Oscar for Best Animated Feature a couple of years ago. This is the second of 3. And they are expecting $150 million worldwide this weekend, and a little bit less than that
in the
here
interest
in
of
North
full
America.
disclosure, I contributed to that potential 150 million today. I'll be seeing it tonight. Ticket purchased, seat chosen.
Nice, I love it. Yeah, we've got screenings going on as we speak, actually, here too.
Yeah, ditto. Like I could have seen it this afternoon, but no, I wanted to be here with you, Brian.
You had to come into cyberspace to come on my podcast.
Easy call. Easy call, my friend.
I appreciate it. I have not bought my ticket yet, but I will be there with you in spirit. I'll be there in one of the many theaters here in Las Vegas, and I'm sure everyone.
Going tonight, or are you gonna check it out tomorrow? What's your plan?
I'm gonna try and go tonight. I've got actually a bunch of stuff to catch up on, but I will go tonight and have at least an instant movie review up, a shorts instant movie review up on my channel.
That's what I'm hoping for. Late tonight, to see it or skip it from the Tim Hortons.
Deadline has it that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will make $150 million worldwide, coming to the screen 5 years after the last one. The first one, Into the Spider-Verse, won an Oscar. What are your expectations for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
I am, like all these ones, I am cautiously optimistic. I think the first one did a great job at teasing this larger world. And that now, whereas the larger world, that it came to the space we've been centered on as audience members with Mr. Morales, that we're now going to go into that world. I think that's exciting to me. That's interesting to me. If they can maintain the emotional punch that the other ones had, do we see him being challenged in a different way, that we get to know some of the other players a bit better? I think it's a great and an exciting opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it tonight. Will it pay off? Will Sony make money? Yes, it will.
Oh, yeah.
It's already got some of mine. It'll get some of Jim's next week, because the week after this Sunday, we'll be overanalyzing it in our live stream. None of these people owe us a good time. They're trying to give us a good time, but they don't owe it to us. I can only hope. I mean, there's worse things in the world. If I come out of the theater going, well, that sucked. Such is life.
And it's sort of interesting, too. I got to go to CinemaCon this year, and CinemaCon 2022... I
wasn't jealous at all.
Yeah. CinemaCon 2022 had the first 15 minutes of the film. I did not see that last year. CinemaCon 2023, which I was at, I did see the second 14 minutes. They showed a 14-minute clip, and that was actually focused on the emotion, not so much the animation. And it was sort of interesting to see the animation process in terms of like 75% of the shots in this relatively emotional just talking scene were all finished graphics, but you could tell where they were working on the script up until the last minute. And so we had working CGI, temporary CGI, in segments of this 14-minute long scene. So it was really interesting to see, even though your ears couldn't tell the difference between the finished audio and the temp tracks, the emotion, they're still working on that, fine-tuning it even just a month ago. So I am really excited for this one. Interesting, also, they're expecting a $60 million open here in North America, and even a surprisingly big open overseas. Even in China, they're expecting a pretty big release for Spider-Man. So it's sort of funny how we think of this as, Spider-Man is a kid from the Bronx. It is Peter Parker. It is now Miles Morales. And yet this is a character that does translate worldwide pretty well.
And it's only 36 minutes longer than the first one. Only. That's one bathroom break. That first movie, 100 minutes, tight, well-paced, well-calibrated. Is that extra 36 minutes going to be spent, we'll throw in more action, bigger action, longer set pieces. That's not all that a movie is. I need a character to begin in one place and end up in another, and I don't mean just at the mall when he left home. Better be an inner journey.
Yeah, I think that
feel it, man.
Well, I think that we will. If that 14-minute clip from CinemaCon that I saw that you didn't, no humble brag there.
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
Didn't notice that I saw that you didn't.
I think
how's it out in the sticks?
Yeah. I noticed that there wasn't any snow today. Aw. No, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. The middle chapter of a trilogy is always the dark, and I actually saw, as far as that scene that they showed, it's not all that dark and depressing. It's actually, it's very heartfelt, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the feels of it.
Yeah, and if it isn't a hero's journey, a trilogy hero's journey, it doesn't need to be dark, epic, heroic trilogy like Guardians of the Galaxy, where each one has stakes, and yes, the stakes continue to build. I wouldn't call the second Guardians of the Galaxy a dark. Even now, when I think about it, I get misty, but so well earned and so hopeful and joyous at the end. And I really mean that, joyous at the end. Yeah. Damn, I really love that series.
And honestly, too, whenever you,
what that has to do with next week's or this weekend's box office? Nothing. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Well, honestly, too, whenever you mention steaks, I always think ribeye and tri-tip. So I think across the board, though, I think it's probably safe bets as to being entertaining and satisfying, if not for your stomach in the terms of actual steaks, then definitely the visual Olympics going on, if you will. Let's moving on to our third story. In the background of the WGA writer's strike that's going on right now, we have some productions are still going on. And we did a deep dive into the writer's strike a couple of weeks ago, so anyone who wants to see that, I will have the link to that full discussion in the comments section below this video. But the point was that you can still film a movie, but you can't make any changes to the script while you're filming it while there's a writer's strike going on. And one of my thoughts was Deadpool. Deadpool 3 is coming to the MCU. Somehow Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool have convinced Disney to do a rated R movie. But seemingly the best part of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is all of the improv, all of the off-the-cuff stuff that makes it into the final film. And if the writer's strike they've already started filming, and with the writer's strike going, Ryan Reynolds, aka Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, will not be able to improvise on set.
No writing on the fly, so to speak.
No improv, no breaking the fourth wall if it wasn't planned ahead of time, if it wasn't already in the script. What are your thoughts on, should they have delayed the shooting of Deadpool 2 get Deadpool 3 given the nature of this film, or are you surprised that they've kind of pushed forward and you hope that maybe this writer's strike gets solved and they can, granted we don't see Deadpool's mouth move very often, so maybe they can fix all that kind of stuff in post, but are you surprised that they've still gone on and are still filming Deadpool 3 with this writer's strike going on?
I think the amount of money that you put into a Deadpool 3 is such that to sit on it for what could be like months and months, where they're like, okay, we've got this money now, and I'm not saying it goes stale, but it could kind of go stale, to invest into this film that will be released at this date, because all these studios, all these big distributors are looking years in advance on where they're going to slot it in. It could very well have been there was a decision made maybe even several months ago when they were talking about, as they were ramping up to production, things been greenlit, money's starting to be spent, and they're like, well, what if there's a strike? And they may have said, you know what, it's too late to stop. Let's just hope if it happens, it's not a long one. And they may have also been then really kind of hammering in that writer's room saying, we gotta be tighter than we normally would. Now, I don't know if we talked about it when we did your show on the writer's strike, but Quantum of Solace, there is a great, and I will send you, if I didn't already, I'll send you the link to a great tweet thread about why the Quantum of Solace is such a forgettable recent James Bond movie. They're producing it during a writer's strike, and it kind of shows how writers are required even during production. And I guess both the director and Daniel Craig, he in an interview said, I'm many things. Writer, I'm not. And how they felt kind of hooped as they were going through that production. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't bode well. That said, these guys don't owe you and I a good time. You hope it's a good time. It's what they want to give us. But isn't that the point of you and I? We're the ones who take the risk to go see the flick, and then we come out and go, ooh, yikes, skip it. Or, well, not that anyone listens to us. Most people watch reviews to see what somebody else thought of a movie they saw.
Yeah.
Not, should I go see the movie?
And look,
they've made that call already.
Let's be honest too. You and I want the movies to be good, but if the movie is bad, that's almost just as good for each of our channels, because if we can tee it up and make fun of a really bad film, saying this is the worst movie, not just of the last month, not just of the last year, but since they involved, this is the worst movie since film was turned into color and talkies, and since Thomas Edison invented that hand crank thing where everyone runs in fast motion back with the Keystone Cops. This movie is that bad. Those could be just as fun too.
I think it's really got to be something else before I really have fun running it down. But what I do like about a bad movie is it's much like a really good one. You can really break it down and go, this is what's wrong. This didn't work. Whereas the mediocrities in the middle, they're so mushy that you're like, it just wasn't that good. I don't know. What could they have done to fix it? I don't know, make a different movie? Whereas a bad movie, you can kind of go, here, this is where it falls apart. This didn't work. That didn't work. And that analysis I enjoy. But it's the same thing as a great movie. You're like, wow, you an embarrassment of praiseworthy riches. Where you go, boy, I really felt this, and wasn't that amazing? And. The mush in the middle, it's like, I don't know, why are we even talking about this?
It's sort of like we were talking on your channel. Beau is Afraid. Yeah, no one is coming out of Beau is Afraid just going, it was all right. You either love it, or you're like everyone else who went in wanting to love it and go, ugh.
Woof.
Someone trying to be an auteur. Oh, yeah. So hopefully Deadpool 3 is not Beau is Afraid. I can almost guarantee that Deadpool 3 is not Beau is Afraid. But also, too, look, if this is one of those things where these big 9-figure movies that have $100 million budget, oftentimes they get to do reshoots anyway. So my guess would be that they can either do voiceovers with Deadpool, given that we don't even see Deadpool's mouth move all that often, and Ryan Reynolds is always putting on the Deadpool costume anyway, and whatever improv, I'm sure they could probably get him and Vanessa together, and whoever's in this movie along with him to do them. Also interesting, a couple of months ago when they first announced Deadpool 3, they did the announcement and said it would be coming out September 2024, next September. And within a week of that announcement, they had already pushed it back to November. And I wonder if that was one of those things where they just sort of realized after the announcement, oh, we've got a writer's strike coming. So maybe we want to buy ourselves a little bit of time, and instead of having a Labor Day release, we have a Thanksgiving release. Let's buy ourselves 2 months right now.
Yeah.
Push it back
It's
those 2
tough.
months.
It's almost like a reverse Jenga, like where you're building on really rickety sort of, okay, I've got one here. Can I put one on top? And then got to put two here. That's a tough one, right? I'm not saying these are the smartest guys in the room, men and women, sorry. These folks aren't the smartest in the room, but they're not dummies either. They have, though, forces upon them that we don't get to see. We can infer, we can speculate on. A close analysis of the trade press can give you some ideas, but in the end, we just don't know why they pulled the pin then. And even afterwards, I kind of always look at well, this is why we did it. And it's like, is that your kind of going, well, actually it was this, but I don't want anyone to think that. I wanted to think this, because then that makes me look smart. Who knows? Who knows, right?
I just love this Deadpool series. This is a series that the Fox executives couldn't stop, the Disney executives couldn't stop. The only thing stopping it as of right now is the writer's strike. So, yeah. And I hopefully the writer's strike will be coming to a conclusion. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be resolved very soon.
Before the actors and the directors go out on the picket line.
Yeah, and have the perfect storm of work stoppages. You've been showing us some of the audio bells and whistles, literally, that you have available at your beck and call. Tell me a little bit about your FIVERR job postings. What do you offer?
I offer, basically, it breaks down to two things. Yes, I am a gig worker, and that's voiceover for a number of areas. And I also do a lot of podcast, what I would call podcast production. And that could be anywhere, my friend, from somebody's got some terrible audio for the podcast. Maybe they were doing an on-location recording, and it just has a lot of background noise, and it's really kind of hard to pick your speakers from the woof around them, or a bad phone connection, whatever, and I help repair that. I can't turn, this is how I like to put it with clients, can't turn lead into gold, but I can polish it up so it looks like, or at least sounds like, silver.
So, and you've also done podcast hosting for hire as well?
Yes, I have. I've done a bit of that. And what I have is also help people from the ground up. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a client right now. She's got an idea that she's trying to bring to fruition. And so we're starting right from her concept and building her podcast, her template, her episode template. As a matter of fact, we're just going over intro and outro scripts now, and I'll be helping her record that in my digital studio. So that's the kind of thing I do there. And as far as voiceover goes, I'm very much a corporate utility player, Brian. So I do a lot of corporate explainer, or let's say corporate announcement, ad copy for, business promo. I can even do a bit of rock and roll. I do some voicey kind of things. I got a great old-timey here today. And I also do voicemail messages, that kind of thing. Yeah, that gives you an idea. I also can do a great intro and outro to your podcast if that's what you're looking for. We're listening now to Dragon Movie Guy, or welcome to another wonderful episode of Dragon Movie Guy. What style do you need? That's what I can do. I'll get on the fancy mic. Not that this is junk, but I'll get on my fancy mic and make something beautiful, make something that sounds great for you today.
full service audio studio waiting for hire. Link in the video description below this video.
Many thanks, my friend. I really
absolutely.
appreciate
And you've helped a lot of people, including me, with this whole podcast space for all your.
As a matter of fact, that's a gig I'm thinking of starting. Is helping people with OBS, and how they can set up interviews and that. So maybe that's something you and I can work on together.
Absolutely. So Rob Kristjansson on FIVERR in the video description below this video. We have Ezra Miller making some headlines, and not entirely in a bad way this time. Variety is reporting that the Flash director, Andy Muschietti, is quoted as saying that he doesn't want any other Flash than his Flash. He wants Ezra Miller to come back as Barry Allen, the Flash. As far as Andy Muschietti goes, going forward, Ezra Miller is still his Flash, regardless of all the off the field, off the screen antics that have kind of gone on. There have been a ton of great reviews for The Flash coming out in a couple, Flash opens up June 16th. I've actually already seen The Flash. It is a really good film. It is one of, if not the best DCEU film. It
really
resets everything. Yeah, I mean, granted that the DCEU is not a high bar to say it's the best film, but of the DCEU films, it is. Granted, I've only seen it once so far, but it is near the top. If it's not at the top, it is near the top of DCEU films. So this is not empty praise coming from the director, Andy Muschietti, directed towards Ezra Miller. Regardless of how well this film does at the box office, critical reception, public praise, do you think that Ezra Miller will be the Flash going forward?
If it's as good as it is and it makes money, wouldn't surprise me at all. I think the whole story kind of illustrates how much nobody cares about the off stuff if it's making money. You're making money. Everybody wants to have that performer fulcrum for all the money making work. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. Have to end up in jail before they're like, wow, we really can't. And even then they might go, okay, so how long's the sentence? Can he do a work furlough program? When is he out? When is he out? I know that's what normal prisoners get, but when is our prisoner out?
So are you saying that if he did get arrested, sentenced, and goes to prison, if he gets furloughed, work released, are you saying that he could be on the set wearing the Flash costume with an ankle bracelet on? Are you saying that we could have the Flash
and the ankle bracelet? There'd be a different rule for that. I mean, I'm being a little facetious, of course, CMG. Right now, if it's as good as you say it is, actually, never mind. You figure it's good. I believe you. So it's a good movie. If it makes money, then yeah, they're going to go. And if Muschietti, I guess his spouse, or maybe it's his sister, I don't know the relationship, Barbara Muschietti, she's saying he was a pro on set. And we're not actually hearing drama about him on set. So even he's like, well, no, I can behave for an employer. You're some poor woman outside a bar in Iceland. Well, here comes the choke, which I think is what's terrible here. That said, yeah, I think that doesn't surprise me at all. It depresses me a little, but it doesn't surprise me. I get it. They'll make that movie. They'll make that movie unless he does something so egregious that it's like, oh, we're not going to spend another $250 million. He's going to tank us.
Let's be honest, too. If we look at Robert Downey Jr., the most successful superhero of the last 20 years, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man. Now, granted, Iron Man comes along after he did all that stuff, and he's been clean and sober since then. Yeah. So
he had to demonstrate, and it sounds like Miller is doing that too. Demonstrating I can be clean, I can show up for work.
It'll be interesting to see long term how Ezra Miller's legal problems are treated. Will they be treated like Robert Downey Jr. or will they be treated like Armie Hammer? It really kind of depends on, it's a little icky to talk about, but it's.
I think it's part of the depressing thing is that, of course, it's going to be different in court. Good for Ezra Miller, not necessarily good for any of the victims, right? That said, this middle-aged white man should probably not be editorializing on that. Women creators in our space who can, probably give a more personal and relevant comment on that part of the story. But for the question, going back to the question you originally asked, yeah, it doesn't shock me at all. Of course they'll make another movie with him. If he can show up and they can make money off of him, then he's got a job and they've got money to make.
Also interesting.
And
yeah.
And scene.
Also interesting is the fact that in this same article, we have Peter Safran and James Gunn have now taken over the DCEU, and we have some relatively complimentary quotes from Peter Safran regarding Ezra Miller in the role of the Flash. Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. Several other things that are very complimentary to his efforts.
Fully supportive.
Yes.
Sure. And we are fully supportive of that journey.
Yes, we are very supportive of that. But still, in there's not 100% committal to keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash, but either way, it's interesting to see the new regime commenting on the old regime's Flash, and they're saying nice stuff before the movie comes out. I think we'll see relatively quickly once the box office totals start coming in after the film comes out whether or not Ezra Miller actually does stay as Barry Allen Flash.
Isn't going to discount the amount of money they could make off of it more than having to recreate a character, because you bring a new actor in at that level, you got to give the character a different spin again. It'll be like, no, we've invested a lot in this.
Very true.
We wish to continue to make money.
Absolutely.
What was the last big character replacement? War Machine?
Oh, yeah.
Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Nobody noticed that, but that's because not a key character. Yes, an official member of the Avengers, kind of, Junior. Hawkeye is way more a member than War Machine. Change Don Cheadle. Ditch him, put somebody else in it. Still be, Machine would move forward. And
ironically, the one Machine that doesn't involve Bert Kreischer in this particular podcast. Moving on to our...
Yeah, we can have a real one. You deserve that. You, Brian, deserve a real.
Rob Kristjansson, available on FIVERR.
Yeah.
Moving on to
or as a guest on your podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
I come with my own sound effects.
Moving on to our fifth and final story for today. It is reported by the Hollywood Reporter. Conveniently enough, reported by the Hollywood Reporter on the Hollywood News. Lionsgate confirms that John Wick 5 is in early development.
Of course it is.
This shouldn't be any surprise. Granted, John Wick 4 cost a lot of money, but it made a ton of money. We've got a John Wick spinoff coming. We're getting a John Wick TV series coming out, all within the John Wick universe, the Wickiverse, if you will. So we're in early development for John Wick Part 5. Are you excited for a John Wick 5? And granted, we're getting this spin-off film coming out next year. We're getting the spin-off TV series coming out, I believe, next year as well. Are you excited for a fifth John Wick
John Wick 4's success, what it has done is moved my needle towards maybe I should go check this movie out. I was not excited, though, about John Wick 4. I was like, why? For the love of God. Like, oh my God, it's still fighting? Still? Oh, all right. Okay. What are we seeing different? How are we seeing change? Like, I have become, since I started this journey in YouTube movie punditry, commentary, analysis, I have become more and more about the character growth and character change. I find that's what gets me engaged in a film more. And John Wick, I'm not saying that the characters aren't interesting or engaging, but there's not a lot of change. An action adventure, barely an adventure, it's an action flick. And it's about surviving as opposed to changing. Although, mind you, I've never done a really deep analysis of John Wick. So, but yeah, I'm like, all right, maybe I gotta go see John Wick 4. Because of this story, because of you sending me that story going, hey, I want to talk about this. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to go see John Wick 4 now. For the love of God, why? Why? Wait a second. Why?
Why? Ooh, that's a different effect. I like that one.
Why? I got them all, baby.
The depressed robot one.
Try the chicken. I'm here all week.
Try the veal, yeah. Push the veal. So, how many of these John Wick movies have you seen?
I saw the first 3. Blown away by the first one. Still think that's one of the best movies, pure action movies of the last 20 years. Remarkable in how we are okay with a huge amount of murder. Like, that body count is crazy, insane, over motivation that, if you think about it rationally, it's like, that's a bit of an overreaction. In the storytelling space, in the film, you're like, you are owned by it. You get it. Like, that's great emotional establishing of a character. By the time that poor little dog meets a miserable fate, you're like, I'm like everyone else. Somebody needs to pay. And the more he makes people pay, the more you're like, yes.
Yeah.
That dog must be avenged. Sorry for those who haven't seen the first one and for whatever reason, like, oh, no, it's spoiled.
Yeah.
That was great. After that, it's just diminishing returns for me.
John Wick 4 is as good as John Wick 1. I mean, I think the impressiveness over what they did with the first film with a tiny budget is a little bit lost, because there's a huge budget for John Wick 5 or John Wick 4. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And I did not see John Wick 2 and 3 as of yet, but John Wick 1 I watched in theaters. I don't know why I didn't watch 2 and 3, but John Wick 4 is the first movie on Dragon Movie Guy in the 3-year history of Dragon Movie Guy that I've given a 5-star review to. So I think you will enjoy John Wick 4 quite a bit. Right. It is 3 hours long. So many action movie, punch 'em up, beat 'em up action movies out there. And to be fair, the director the director kind of comes out of that school. But the emotional journey of this arc, and honestly too, the action scenes alone. Like, I could name off 4 or 5 of the action scenes and just say the hotel scene, the staircase. Like, those scenes are so iconic in how they were designed and executed in John Wick 4. The execution was just as good for the action scenes as they were for the bad guys. So I think you'll really love John Wick 4 when you do see it.
Right, I'll go check it out. Because even when I think of John Wick 1, and you could compare the two. They both had similar budgets, similar great action set pieces, John Wick and Atomic Blonde, there's a reason why I'm like, yeah, it's okay, style, had all of the style, but I didn't care about any of these characters. By the end of it, it was like kind of, oh, so that's the way it ends. Kind of, what?
And I did like Atomic Blonde, but this one, though. This one.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying Atomic Blonde was... I'm not saying that at all, but I'm also saying it's there with style over substance. Whereas John Wick, again, by the time the mayhem starts, you're like, you are in it, emotionally engaged, because it takes the time to establish that character and where they are in their heart. And you're like, yeah, I get it. That poor little dog.
And honestly, John Wick,
like everything is about the emotional moment. And then you even, on top of that, emotional moments in the father-son relationship with the antagonists, where you feel for the father and even a little bit for the son, even though he's such a piece of you-know-what. Because you kind of go, yeah, your father didn't love you. Your father wanted you to be someone else. One of the things I learned when I was in film, I remember a local stunt coordinator, second unit director, as a lot of stunt coordinators are, and I had the opportunity to compete for a role in one of these movies we're both working on. I was the assistant to the director, but I had a shot. And he says, all right, I'm going to give you the 30 seconds film acting class. And it helped me, gave me the confidence to go in. I ended up getting the role. Who knew? But he's talking about violence. And he says, when you're violent, it's maybe some of the most intimate moments in a film, or when they're at the most violent. It's certainly emotional and visceral. But if you can do it right, if you understand that, and John Wick's such a great first example, was made by a couple of stunt coordinators who became directors, that they understood that there can be emotion, there needs to be emotion as a payoff to this violence, or as a reason for the violence, that there's an intimate connection happening. You feel it in the simplest of moments, the father and the son, and who hasn't seen this movie, when he gut punches him. And you feel that emotional moment. What did I do, Daddy? And he's like, it's not what you didn't do, or it's what you didn't do, or something. I don't know. Can't quite remember the line, but I remember the emotional impact and how it's demonstrated in a moment of violence.
And I think you see all of that in spades
in number 4, right?
And and the thing is too, it's not just John Wick. We get other characters in that universe that are just as deadly, but have different stories and have different styles. So it is absolutely worth watching, because I don't know how they do it, but the fact that it's all 2 or 3 or 4 of these characters have such flushed out, well done within a John Wick movie is really fascinating. So definitely worth watching.
I'll go check out number 4.
Absolutely, yeah.
I make this commitment to you now. I will watch that movie.
I wait your report back on watching John Wick 4, because I hate the thing too.
It's at least short worthy. This is for DMG.
Yeah.
Short made for one. Yeah, it was worth it.
And the thing is too, I hate doing the thing where you build up a film and you go, it is the greatest thing ever, and then people go, and then they go and see it, and they're expecting the greatest thing ever, and they go, oh yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as opposed to lowering, as opposed to lowering expectations, it was your favorite. It's fine.
Fine.
It's a 4-letter F word. Fine. John Wick 4.
I do though. I have to come up with a different No, I like fine.
No, it's a great word.
Because
it's 4 letters and it's an F word.
Mush either. If I think of movies mediocre, that's a mediocrity. Whereas I'd say Free Guy, as my first time I really started to lean into the word fine, I think that's a fine movie. It's perfectly fine.
Well, look, it's 4 letters. It starts with an F. It's fine. And there's
the one that doesn't need one of.
Yeah. It's a word that doesn't need a bleep, but you can sure use a bleep with it.
Movie. Although you might hear it's a perfectly movie. All right, enough with the censor button.
It's funnier. I maintain my earlier stance. It is funnier with the bleep. Somehow it's funnier with the bleep. So
I agree with you. I agree with you. The bleep sells the swear.
Yeah, it does. Even if you're not actually swearing, it is funnier somehow with the beep.
Yeah.
So, thank you. That's all 5. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Rob Kristjansson from Jim.
Thank you, Brian.
No.
I cut you off.
Thank you.
No. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob Kristjansson from Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. You can find links to Rob's channel in the video description below this video. You can also find Rob on FIVERR for all of your voiceover and podcasting coaching needs, setup, everything.
Audio repair, and that can be done for your videos as well. Sound design. I do sound design, audio repair, audio mixing, whatever you need. Mastering.
And as we've already seen, we've seen some of the tools at his disposal, like the bright lights and the cool fader switches. He has the complete audio suite for all of your buttons. Yeah, for all of the buttons, the glowy buttons, the red buttons, he has all of the buttons for his disposal that you can hire him on FIVERR with 2 R's.
Even more importantly, I have a number of plugins that do help me do that heavy lifting. So,
and who doesn't enjoy a good plug-in here and there? So with that, the rim shot worthy, not so quite dirtiest joke of the podcast, I want to thank Rob Kristjansson for coming on Dragon Movie Guy podcast, talking about the movie news you can use. And we will say thank you, everyone, for viewing, and we will see you next time. See you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.